You know, there is a reason I do not like pro wrestling media. I think the pro wrestling media, the quote-unquote journalists, I think everyone in the community that does that type of content, aggregates that type of information, is largely fake. They have a narrative to push. They have an agenda to push. And I know some of these outlets, some of these publications, some of these creators are being paid, even though they'll tell you they are not being paid. They are being paid in some way, shape, or form to either cover the content, talk about the content, and not speak ill will of the content. Nobody's genuine, nobody's fair, and nobody gives a level of criticism like some of us here on YouTube do every single week. Yesterday was one of those days where I honestly said to myself, man, I hate the fucking pro wrestling media. I can't stand them. Tony Khan was on Ariel Helwani. This was a redo from their disastrous first interview. And Ariel Helwani, out of nowhere, on Monday night announced that Tony Khan would be in his New York studio, face-to-face, for a sit-down interview ahead of AEW Full Gear this Saturday in Newark, New Jersey. If I could explain the interview in oh so many words, it was like coddling a baby. It's basically what it was. It was basically Ariel Helwani holding Tony Khan's hand. And I want you to picture like a parent or a guardian holding your child's hand or their child's hand as they carefully cross the street, and you gotta look both ways. You gotta look both ways, and you can only cross when the light is red and the traffic is stopped and you see that white walk symbol. That means it's okay to go, and they're holding hands and they're skipping down the sidewalk. Look at how safe we are crossing the street. It's basically what the entire interview was. And then you go on social media and you see different content creators, different personalities. Oh man, Tony Khan handled this so well. How could you hate Tony Khan? You're an angry little soy boy if you hate Tony Khan. He did so great. He answered all the questions. His professionalism is profound. What the fuck did you people listen to? What did you listen to? You listened to a guy who clearly is taking some sort of class or listening to somebody on how to conduct himself because he doesn't know how to conduct himself, answer questions in a long-winded way where I could not sit and watch the entire interview in one sitting. He doesn't answer the questions. There were several questions that he did answer. There were several questions that he didn't answer. And the ones that he did answer, he gave you a 10-minute fucking reply when all we needed was 90 seconds. Yet you want me to sit here and openly glaze Tony Khan because he finally, in 6 years, has finally sat down and opened himself up to an interview. And even when he did, he still did the same thing that he usually does. He doesn't answer, he doesn't engage, and he lies. Tony Khan is a master bullshit artist, and you have the entire wrestling community sucking this guy's cock every single time he wants to do something or say something because Fed bad, AEW good. I don't know, man. I don't know where you guys get your information from, but today we're going to go over this entire interview in the only way that we know how. Right here on Off the Script, it is your Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. Early in the interview, Ariel Helwani brought up the AEW product and Darby Allin. Darby Allin was on Ariel Helwani's show. He, in a bizarre turn of events, poured water on his face, on his head, while he was wearing his Darby Allin makeup and face paint. Ariel Helwani asked him, is there any reason why you did that? He's just an unhinged psycho. Because I want to. It's me. Okay. It's unbelievable how the sickos look at this. There's no sense of professionalism anywhere. Darby Allin just shows up on... Imagine Darby Allin showing up at your home and he's dousing himself with fucking water. This is the sicko mentality. He asked about Darby Allin and the promotion's use of blood and high-risk spots. Tony Khan praised Darby Allin, but offered his fall from a ladder through glass plates at Revolution last year during Sting's final match. He said that one went too far. Other than that, TK said he'll use or okay danger or gore when it serves the story and feels it almost always has in AEW and in Ring of Honor. Man, I mean, you listen to that and you think that they're rarely doing it and that they use it when it matters most and they take a quality over quantity aspect to their storytelling. No, that's not the way that things go. You see blood, you see violence, you see gore, you see plunder, you see indie mud show, outlaw mud show garbage every single week. And then when you actually need to use it, the effects of those things don't matter and they don't mean anything because we've seen it every single fucking month, multiple times a month. So when you want to do it, i.e. blood and guts, none of it really comes off as if it matters because we've seen it every single fucking week on AEW television. Glass, barbed wire, chairs, drownings, fire. What exactly did they do in Blood and Guts that made you go, oh my God, I never seen that one before. Man, I haven't seen that one in a while. AEW doesn't know when to quit. And they only know how to serve the lowest common denominator, which, by the way, is dwindling by the week. Everybody praised AEW. This is how low the bar has been set, and this is how clueless most of the people there are and the fan base. They celebrated 600,000 people watching the show with a demo of 0.15 on Wednesday. Now, granted, that was the highest rating that they've done in months, but if you go back to 2022, where I believe the Blood and Guts event was held at the TD Garden in Boston, they did around 9,000 plus people. So if you look at the attendance for 2023 and then 2024, it was basically cut in half. Or was it 2023 that they were at the TD Garden? 2 years ago. Whatever. They were at the TD Garden for Blood and Guts, and they did near 9,000. And then last year they did about 43, 44. And then this year they did just about the same. So the audience is cut in half. And the demo has been cut in half just based on this actual show that is a yearly thing for AEW. And usually Blood and Guts happens in the middle of the year, around June, July. This was the first time that we got it in November. And it's bad enough that AEW gave us 2 Blood and Guts matches. WWE is giving us 2 War Games matches. So we got 4 War Games matches happening in the span of 2 weeks. And then on the same night that they did Blood and Guts, AEW announced a steel cage match with Samoa Joe and Adam Page. And you mean to tell me that this company is quality over quantity? Now, yes, I understand that you get what you pay for. It's in the title. But to go above and beyond than just immediately go into a match where Sky Blue bleeds in the first 6 minutes and you got another 40 minutes or so of this match still yet to come, I don't think that they understand or grasp the meaning of a spot or a moment. And this is where I was taken out of context. You know, the War Games concept between both companies is going down the fucking toilet. It doesn't mean as much as it used to. And I genuinely mean that, and I'm a fan of the concept. This is why AEW is in the position that it's in. They abuse and abuse and abuse and abuse instead of using it sparingly when it matters most. Same thing with WWE. We don't need War Games every single fucking year. Because it's Survivor Series, let's do War Games. Triple H is basically following the path of his father-in-law, who ruined the Hell in a Cell concept. The first time in years we saw the Hell in a Cell concept return was Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. We didn't see the concept until they brought it back. They brought back the old feeling of the original concept, and they bled inside said concepts. So when you got a mixture of all these things happening, it was a match of the year. And we got that shock and awe, and we got that quality, and we got that, oh shit, I haven't seen that one before, or I haven't seen that done in a while. Even before that, the pile driver spot from Kevin Owens on Cody Rhodes back in December, before they wrestled at the Royal Rumble this year. When was the last time you saw package pile driver done to Cody Rhodes? The fact that we didn't see it and haven't seen it in years because it's outlawed, the fact that he brought it back and did it, it made the entire moment all that much special. So, again, do not take me out of context when you all know that I make a lot more sense than a lot of people. So, yes, all of this shit doesn't matter. And he actually said he uses it to serve the story. What story? AEW doesn't tell stories the way that they need to tell stories. Wrestler A versus Wrestler B for fucking multitude of championships is not a fucking story. Money matches every single week is not a story. They don't tell stories. They don't. If you think that what they do is telling stories, you are watching a completely different fucking product than most of us are. And he also went on to say that he allows his talent to do whatever they want to do in this type of situation. Yet in the same interview, he told Ariel Helwani that CM Punk was demonstrably false and his talent does not walk all over him as the CEO of the company. Meanwhile, you let your talent go out there and jump off fucking high rises and scaffolds and all this other fucking nonsense and all this bullshit with fire and blood and fucking drownings. I mean, it's up to you to say, you know what, maybe we should take a step back and less is more approach. You just let everybody do what they want to do. Yet, you say that they don't walk all over you. They absolutely do. And you allow them to. After going through the card for Full Gear on Saturday, some of the things lined up for tonight's Dynamite, he said, is a supersized go-home edition of Dynamite and Collision on TBS and TNT and Max and all other Warner Brother outlets. Because he's got to get that in there about fucking 18 times during one sitting in an interview. Ariel asked about AEW's partnership with Warner Brothers. Specifically, he wondered if Tony Khan is worried about WBD being up for sale. TK hyped their great relationship and pointed to the ongoing DC partnership, which is sponsoring Full Gear, as proof AEW is clearly very strongly figured in Warner Brothers' plans. Anyone who buys Warner will inherit the media rights deal with AEW, but may not be gung-ho about promoting the brand. But Helwani didn't push on that, likely because Tony Khan can't know, since no one knows what will happen with Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't know what people expect Tony Khan to say here. He doesn't know where it's being sold, who's going to own the rights. He doesn't have any part in the negotiation. All he can do is sit back and let the cards fall where they may, and he needs to continue producing content. Now, it is funny how we all look at the landscape now, what's going on with consolidation in the streaming market, and WWE's got their brand and multitudes of fucking networks and in different places. Basically, they have closed the gate on AEW for when they need to renegotiate with said partner. And now we have Paramount, who WWE and UFC are in bed with. So UC, or TKO, I should say, and UFC are in bed with. So they'll obviously be operating in WWE's best interest as well. If Paramount owns WBD, that doesn't bode well for AEW. That's going to be yet another gate that they are closing around AEW and will leave them with absolutely little to zero market share. And very little on where to go if they need a new home. So yes, he should be worried, but he can't really speak on it right now because he's not really privy to that type of information. So what do you want him to say? Sure, it's okay to ask him about it, to see how he's feeling about it. But when you ask him about it, what do you expect him to say? Oh, man, I'm worried. You can't expect him to put worry in the eyes of his roster. He doesn't know. So I think he answered that one pretty well. He was asked about moving all of his shows to a streaming service the way that WWE's done and UFC is doing. Khan said that he isn't sure if AEW will ever move away from the pay-per-view model for events. He plans to keep delivering value to pay-per-view, something all but his most vicious critics concede. AEW and Ring of Honor usually do. TK also plugged their HBO Max offering and the WBD deal overall. Tony Khan is never going to move AEW pay-per-views to one set price for paid subscription, and you get AEW pay-per-views included. That means they'd have to go back and renegotiate their contract with Warner Brothers Discovery to offset the amount that they would make. And right now, AEW per pay-per-view makes anywhere in the ballpark between $8 and $10 million per pay-per-view. If you tally up 100 to 130,000 buys at $50 a pop, AEW is not going to willingly give that up unless they are getting that back at least, or at least close to that, on the back end if they renegotiate their deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. So they're not going to do that. But what I find funny is how Warner Brothers did not renegotiate with AEW to actually go about doing that and opted to just place their pay-per-views on Max at a lower cost. So if you're watching on Max, you get it for $40 instead of $50. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't have Max, it's still the traditional $49.99 on Amazon and traditional pay-per-view outlets. They could have renegotiated. I just find it very odd that they didn't want to do that. Maybe they don't have the money to give AEW at this point in time. Maybe they don't want to give AEW that type of money because they don't think AEW is worth that type of money because there's literally been no return on their investment. It's a dying product, and ratings and demos have been in the fucking toilet and continue a downward spiral year over year. So, again, it's all speculation. It's in the eye of the beholder, says Tony Khan. Helwani pointed out that AEW is the only combat sport organization he knows of that has no ties to Saudi Arabia. Rather, to use this as a differentiator between his company and WWE, Khan said he'd never thought of it that way and moved on from the discussion. It certainly wasn't an I'll never work with the Saudis or even an I don't currently work with the Saudis by choice situation. Saudi Arabia doesn't want to work with AEW. They don't find any value in AEW, nor will they ever find any value in AEW. And I would be hard-pressed to say that they don't even know what an AEW is. If AEW was bringing in multitudes of millions of people and generating billions of dollars through multiple TV outlets and streaming deals, then maybe Saudi would take notice. Do you think Saudi's going to take notice of their 453,000 weekly viewers on their A show every Wednesday with a 0.09 18 to 49 demo? Yes, that's exactly who the Saudis want to be in bed with. Saudi don't know what an AEW even is. And if they did, why the fuck would they want them? So he goes on to ask about the whole AEW under attack and Vince McMahon, comparing Vince McMahon to the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. When Helwani brought up industry veterans who criticize and ridicule the AEW product on podcasts, Khan's response was that their programming gives pundits a lot to talk about. And the fact they keep doing this and talking about it must mean it does good numbers for them. He also praised Eric Bischoff's run at Top WCW and indicated that he's spoken to his frequent critic in Eric Bischoff and sometime online sparring partner in Jim Cornette and Eric Bischoff more recently than folks might think. See, this is what I don't really understand. They mention online podcasts, pundits, and critics of the product. I don't think Tony understands that we all want a better product. But we all feel and see Tony Khan is running the product into the ground with a lack of story and just a overexposure of what is not bringing in a fucking audience every week. It's actually killing the fucking audience. I don't really understand what he expects. You're the second biggest pro wrestling promotion in the United States, in the world, mind you, in the world outside WWE. And then you don't expect content creators and people who have made a living off of pro wrestling content. You don't expect them to talk about AEW, whether it's good, bad, or in between? It almost sounds like Tony Khan wants to exist without any of the criticisms. Let me tell you something there, big boy. There will be criticisms like you've never seen, and people have you under a microscope and are watching your every waking moment, just like you're watching everybody's critiques through multiple different burner accounts. What are you up to now, Tony? 20, 25, maybe? You even own your own analytic company. You know what the numbers are. Everywhere you look, everything about AEW analytics-wise, you know what AEW is doing, yet you blatantly lie. Right to Ariel's face and right to the media's face. Give me a break. Yes, we will be here every single week covering your product. Do you expect us not to cover the product? Are you one of those people? Well, if you don't like it, JD, don't watch. Yes, let me leave money on the table without talking about the second biggest pro wrestling promotion in the entire fucking world. Give me a fucking break. Just like Triple H. He doesn't like the online criticism of how he's handling the creative in WWE, and everybody's got something to say. Motherfucker, this is 2025. You live, breathe, and fucking exist on social media. Everything you do is going to be enhanced because it's the day and age of social media. If you expect people to not talk about your product, then you're willingly killing your fucking product. We're the ones keeping you alive. Look at it that way. Ridiculous. If nobody was talking about AEW, where the fuck would AEW be? You need us. Just like everybody says we need them. Motherfucker, I've been doing this for way too long. I can do whatever the fuck I gotta do on here with WWE and WWE only. I don't need to exist on here, and AEW is not the reason why I exist on here. It's just fun to actually pick them apart because they're not doing what needs to be done. Get over it. He mentioned Dana White and how he is a close friend to Dana White. Who gives a fuck? Dana White probably laughs at him behind his back. On the subject of counter-programming, Tony Khan brought up WWE's history of doing that with competitors. Because of that, he says he's expected it. He also said WWE counter-programming never really cost us anything and has always worked out. Yes, it has worked out. Which is why I don't understand why you don't make the product better and do monthly pay-per-views. They were in the UK for Forbidden Door. They had to, due to the time difference, operate at a 2 p.m., 3 p.m. bell time. So by the time the show was over, it was 8 p.m. It's a lot more digestible for us here in the United States. It's also great for the people over there, which they do great business over there. Then they go to Canada, and they go to Toronto for All Out, and they give you a 2 p.m., 3 p.m. bell time. And they only moved it back because WWE kind of came in out of nowhere with WrestlePalooza, ESPN, the debut on ESPN, brand new concept, WrestlePalooza, Cena versus Lesnar, Cody versus McIntyre, AJ Lee being back. WWE played with their dead animal in AEW and opted to take that night. And AEW originally was slated to go live at 8 p.m. They moved it back to the early afternoon, and they did very well. Again, it came off better, and I enjoy an AEW pay-per-view more so at 2 or 3 p.m. than I do at 8 p.m., and it ends at 1 a.m., and I'm here doing what I got to do for my job to keep food on my fucking table and the lights on. I got to be here till 5 o'clock in the morning. That's a lot better for us. It's just a lot better as a human being to watch something at that hour, at 2, 3, ends at 8. I don't know why he doesn't do that. I know a lot of people would not have a problem with that. Just announce it ahead of time so you don't fuck the people who bought tickets to an 8 p.m. show, and then you just turn it around and say, you know what, we're moving it to 2 p.m. because WWE is now playing in our sandbox and we don't want them there. You fuck people over who took the day off from work because they changed their schedules for one time, and now you change the time on them. People were scheduled to come in at a different time, and now you got to have people come in a day early to go to the show. There's just a lot of nonsense that happens there that isn't really fan-friendly. So if you announce it ahead of time, sure, it's not going to cost you anything. I'm certain they fucked some people over. So it did cost them some frustration from fans. It's always worked out. Make it continue to work out. So if it didn't harm your business, then make the changes to make the product a little bit more easy to digest. I don't know why he doesn't. Or at least if you want to start the show in the evening when WWE isn't counter-programming, moving the show from 8 p.m. to 7 p.m. isn't going to fucking kill you. I don't really understand why he doesn't do that. WWE starts at 7 o'clock. Why can't AEW start at 7 o'clock? Why do we need to start at 8 p.m. and we have 15 fucking matches on these shows? Quality over quantity. They don't know in moderation. They don't know what that means. It was similar to how we answered when Helwani brought up WWE now partnering with companies like TNA. As Tony Khan pointed out their history of doing that when dealing with a challenger brand. Obviously, ECW during the Monday Night War. When Ariel said WWE partnering with TNA was talked about by Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy told him the only reason WWE was working with TNA was to hurt AEW. TK replied, I think that's probably true. The fact that Matt said it, that's really cool. WWE is in business with TNA for two reasons. Number one, they want TNA to take a piece of the pizza pie away from AEW. I don't know what's going to come with their TV negotiations, but at the end of the day, I think that they land on Wednesday nights, depending on what the rumor is. I think the rumor is AMC. I don't know what AMC has on Wednesday nights and if they will opt to move what they have currently on Wednesday nights for TNA to slide into that time slot. So that's a wait-and-see situation. But I do think that they will eventually go head-to-head with AEW, and I do think that WWE is using TNA as the front lines in this war because they don't want to do it themselves. It would be too blatant if WWE did it themselves. So they're going to send the amateurs in there, like TNA, to go do battle for them and fight their battles for them. Secondly, the reason why WWE is partnering with TNA is, again, closing off the floodgates. TNA is partnering with WWE, and that makes WWE in a position to get first dibs on talent. So if talent is looking at this partnership, they're probably thinking, well, this is great. We're partnering with the biggest pro wrestling promotion in the entire fucking universe. So this is great for our brand, and it's actually worked out great for TNA. This has been their best year of business ever due to the NXT partnership. We got a trade of talent, NXT talent on TNA, TNA talent on NXT on Tuesday nights. They've had some of their largest attendance in the history of the company this year with the WWE partnership. This gives WWE first dibs on talent. So instead of a talent going to free agency and then AEW having an opportunity to pick them up, WWE has first dibs on talent, just like Joe Hendry and Jordan Grace and soon to be Mike Santana or whoever else is going to have a contract up. WWE is going to be like, yeah, we're going to take them. We're going to put them over here. We're going to take that one. We're going to put them over here. Instead of them going to free agency, it gives AEW another opportunity to not look at any talent, and they are left with their outlaw mud shows on the independent circuit. So that's why they did it. That's why WWE is in bed with TNA. Is it to hurt AEW? Absolutely. It is absolutely to hurt AEW. So Matt Hardy is 100% correct in his opinion on why TNA is partnered with WWE. CM Punk's name got brought up. And apparently, Tony Khan mentioned and talked about openly how he felt about the CM Punk interview with Ariel Helwani last year and the backstage footage that was aired in April when he released the backstage footage of CM Punk and Jack Perry at All in Wembley. On why Tony Khan released the backstage footage of the Punk incident, if he had any regrets about handling the Punk situation. He says, I didn't necessarily agree with everything that was said in that interview with Punk about how things happened, but also it's a TV show and it did a very strong number. So he basically admitted without admitting it, he used it as a publicity stunt. That's all he used it for. For many reasons, I think it made sense to release the backstage footage. No, it did not. It was something that was advertised and it got a lot of attention. That did a strong number. It's the second time he said that. So he basically gave the same answer a second time in the same fucking sentence. And also, it's in the eye of the beholder. Yes, it's in the eye of the beholder. What the fuck are you, James Hetfield? Get the fuck out of here. I think the tape spoke for itself, and I didn't agree with how it happened. Obviously, it was a major part of why things were no longer able to continue with us, although I would have liked to be able to. It's clear that I wanted to reconcile and do those things. Well, gee, Tony, do you mind telling us who didn't want that to happen? Maybe we can point the finger of blame not only at you, but the fucking party that didn't want him there and that actively drove him out of the fucking company. If you look at the time before Phil came to AEW, we were having a great run. You were. Certainly not like it is now. Which is why I don't really understand fans thinking that this is the best time in AEW ever. It's like 2022 was just a fucking like a pipe dream, like a mirage. Where was it? It happened. To these people, it didn't. To me, it did. We are having a great run and we're having great times together. Him and Punk, the company and Punk. We were having a great year. Right now with this roster, and this is the best roster and the best AEW locker room. It feels like in and out of the ring, the combination, this is the best we've been. Lies! Lies! The demo says otherwise. The ratings say otherwise. I'll get to that in a second. We also had great times together. It was clear when we started Collision, I wanted to reconcile and find a way to still do these things. I guess that wasn't possible, but I didn't necessarily agree with everything he said. I don't agree with him saying I get walked all over as a boss, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's feedback, and it's fair if that's how he feels. Oh, that's absolutely 100%, unequivocally, the 100% factual statement of that entire interview. On top of everything else that was also said in that interview, which was also 100% factual information. I didn't agree with the description of the way things played out, and that's okay. That's all in the eye of the beholder. Okay, Lars Ulrich. Just like the whole situation, it wasn't the first time he and I disagreed about something, and it may not be the last. Oh, it won't be the last, Tony. And that's okay. I had tried to reconcile, and I wanted to find a way for everybody to work together. That didn't work out, and that's okay. It seems like everybody's happier and doing better right now. In AEW, everybody's really happy, and it feels like this is the best locker room and has been the best locker room since the Jacksonville lockdown days. The footage was aired. This is what I really find funny, and he doesn't agree with it. But I'm going to tell you exactly what the situation is here. AEW released the footage and aired the footage, played it off like they were using it for storyline purposes in a fucking tag team title tournament final between FTR and the Young Bucks, and used it as a way to get the Young Bucks and FTR to have some semblance of a story coming out of a tournament where we didn't really give a shit to see them wrestle again for a tag team title. It's number one. But the real reason the footage aired, and the real reason why they decided to air the footage on that fabled night on Dynamite, which did around 800 and something thousand viewers in the overall viewership and like a 0.2 plus in the demo, they haven't come close to that overall viewership and overall demo on that particular episode of Dynamite. Haven't come close since. So you could look at that as the moment that AEW was killed. So not only did they drive away the CM Punk fans, they drove away the fucking fans that are absolutely fed up to no end about the childish way that this company is run by the childish person who is at the top in Tony Khan, and the childish guys that you have running around, parading around as executive vice presidents. You know, the same guys that did a lap around the ring in celebration that CM Punk was fired live on air. Yeah, those guys. That all collectively can be bundled with a nice big red bow presented to anybody as the reason why AEW died from that moment on. You can sit there and claim that this is the greatest year of all time and the greatest roster and this the greatest locker room and we got great matches and great stories and everything's fucking great. The guy mentioned the word great about 30 fucking times in the first 20 minutes. No. The only reason why the footage was aired is because Tony didn't know how to handle his emotions. And what he saw with CM Punk on Ariel Helwani, he used it as a way to get back and be petty. You want to say what you said about me? I'm going to show the world exactly the type of person that you are. And it actually worked against AEW. Tony feared for his life, though. I didn't really see anything in that clip, if that was the entirety of the clip and the entirety of the situation. I don't really see where Tony feared for his life. You went out on live television and over-embellished the situation to make yourself look good while making him look bad. You didn't expect him to go on Ariel Helwani and speak his fucking truth. And quite honestly, with what CM Punk said, every word out of his fucking mouth during an interview, in my honest opinion, is an exact recollection of the situation the day that it happened. And everything he said about AEW and Tony Khan is 100% accurate. Tony feared for his life, though. So we would imagine that happened before he went out to wrestle Samoa Joe, and then when he got back to the locker room, they ushered him out of the fucking building. If that was the only footage that was aired. If there was other footage, I don't know why they didn't air the other footage, because they just aired all this other shit. Why didn't they add the additional footage that may have been? CM Punk reportedly left the building, was asked to leave. He ordered takeout, hung out with his friends, and hung out in his hotel room until the show was over. This will live on as the darkest day in AEW history, and a reminder that Tony Khan, instead of siding with CM Punk, who at that point was looking for a way out and probably wanted to be gone anyway, this is the situation where you need to remember Tony Khan sided with the Young Bucks and Jack Perry over one of the biggest superstars in the history of the business, and still to this day, their biggest star ever. And this was a moment where he was already with the WWE, and they aired the footage, and a WWE guy drew AEW's biggest rating. So how exactly did this work out in AEW's favor? Give me a break. Lies, lies, lies. The guy's nothing more than a bullshit artist. They aired the footage as a way to get back at CM Punk because Tony Khan doesn't know any way but petty. Yet you want to think he's professional. He ended himself great in this interview, man. That's the Tony Khan that we all know. I know! By the way, every AEW is great this year, folks. Look at these quarters from year over year. 2024 quarter one. 810,000 with a 0.28 in the demo. 2025 quarter one, 613,000 with a 0.17. Quarter two, 2024, 711, down. The demo was 0.24, down. 2025 quarter two, 627,000, down. Demo, 0.17, down. Quarter three, 2024, 696, down. 0.22 in the 18 to 49 demo. Once again, down. 2025, quarter three, 562,000 viewers with a 0.13 in the 18 to 49 demo. Could I get Disturbed to sing Down with the Sickness somewhere? I'd do it, but I don't want to get copyright struck. Yes, everything's fucking great. They got the greatest year in their history. Down, 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 down. Guy's a bullshit artist, yet you got the fake media glazing this guy like a fucking Krispy Kreme donut. Unbelievable. Regarding the situation with the picture, if I find it, I'll put it up in the video here. He mentioned that Saturday night's main event photo with Ricky Saints, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Jade Cargill, and I believe Mariah May wasn't in it, right? Who else was in it? There was 5. Jade, Cody, Punk, Saints. I think it was 4, right? Ethan Page is also there. He looked at this photo, and Khan said it made him smile and reminded him of the picture Rhodes took with Jon Moxley, as you guys see on screen there. Early in AEW's existence, at the first Double or Nothing, this picture with Moxley and Rhodes was taken. He said he could talk for hours about how highly he thinks of all 4 in the Saturday Night's main event photo as wrestlers and people, but mostly he thought about the 2020 Mox Rhodes pick. I would have looked at this and obviously made a joke about it, which I did on social media. I mean, look at dropping the ball, the definition of dropping the ball in the Webster's Dictionary, and you'll find a picture of Tony Khan in this picture right next to it. But I will say this, and this is one of the things I will openly say, and I mean it, and this is not the first time on this channel that I've admitted this, and I've stood by this for years. Without Tony Khan, this picture is not taken at all. You can thank Tony Khan for that picture to be floating around on social media until the end of days. You can thank Tony Khan for bringing CM Punk back to pro wrestling. No matter how awful the relationship was severed, you can thank Tony Khan for bringing him back to pro wrestling. You can thank Tony Khan and the Young Bucks and Adam Page and Kenny Omega and everybody else in that situation. You can thank them for bringing CM Punk back to WWE and giving that guy the biggest chip on his shoulder to make sure that they don't go anywhere anymore. AEW. So you can thank Tony Khan for the good and the bad. You can thank Tony Khan for Jade Cargill. You can thank Tony Khan for Cody Rhodes. You can thank Tony Khan for Ricky Saints. That picture is not taken without Tony Khan. So no matter what you look at and think of in regards to Tony Khan is a part of a lot of good, and Tony Khan is part of a lot of bad. This is one of those in-between situations, and something that you have to be a little bit more realistic on. Without Tony Khan, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes are not back in the level that they are in pro wrestling. It's just a fact of the matter. And if you don't like that opinion because you think I'm, one thing or another, JD's an E-Fed or a fedophile or whatever the fuck people will call JD Glazes the Fed or JD's an AEW sicko now. No, I'm being realistic. I'm being down to earth, honest, and truthful with you. Without Tony Khan, this picture is not taken in the context that it's taken. Ariel pressed Tony about the HBO Max numbers when Tony Khan was touting the ratings for Dynamite. We went over the ratings. I don't need to go over that again. But he went on to say that he doesn't see those Max numbers on HBO Max. He said not even NFL gets streaming numbers all the time. TK did say that Blood and Guts a week ago was probably our most watched show in months on streaming. Well, how do you know it was the biggest number on streaming, but then in the same sentence you told me that you don't have those numbers, nor have you seen those numbers? Well, why did you automatically contradict yourself in the same sentence when talking about how great the ratings were, or in this case, how not great the ratings are? HBO Max has the numbers. Tony Khan knows the numbers. If Tony Khan runs his own analytic company, he's got the fucking numbers. The guy deals with numbers every day. He has the numbers, as does Max. Just like Netflix has the Raw numbers, and HBO Max has the NBA numbers, and Peacock has the NFL numbers. And all those numbers usually get released to the media outlets so that people could fucking report on it and aggregate the statistics. If the numbers were where they needed to be, they would be all over the fucking place, and Tony Khan would be shouting them from the highest mountaintop. The fact that he has the numbers, says that he doesn't, makes me believe that he has the numbers and the numbers aren't good, which is why we haven't heard a fucking peep about the goddamn numbers. He has the numbers. So does HBO Max. The reason why we don't have the numbers, and by the way, it's not 500,000. I'd probably put it in the range of 25 to 50,000. That's more realistic. They have the numbers. If the numbers were good, then we'd be hearing nothing but the numbers. But you got people like Meltzer who always say, yeah, the rating is this, but that doesn't include the Max numbers, and the Max numbers are 500,000 every week. Nobody's watching Collision on Saturday night. 500,000 people watching Collision on Saturday night? Absolutely fucking untrue. Untrue. Don't believe the garbage. He has the numbers. If he did have the numbers, which in the case I believe he does, he'd be shouting them if they were good from the highest mountaintop. No doubt about it. Talked about Shockwave. Says he didn't realize NWA, or Pride FC for that matter, had used that name, and told Billy Corgan, the owner of NWA, that he wouldn't use it. Ariel didn't bring up the Fox rumors about Shockwave and Swerve mentioning it and letting the cat out of the bag, which eventually led to nothing. Corgan and TK also sorted out the national title issue with AEW, starting with no history and a fresh lineage for their national championship. He was also breached about the Edge, Adam Copeland being a part of the John Cena retirement tour, and it won't happen unless Cena unretires because Cope is under AEW contract and a big part of AEW's future. Adam Copeland was never going to wrestle John Cena. Then they got into like a little bit of a lightning round where Ariel Helwani gave off names here. Killer Cross was mentioned. Helwani thought that signing Cross would be a slam dunk addition for AEW. Tony Khan says he hasn't spoken to Killer Cross since he left WWE. Tony Khan didn't say he would reach out either. Just that Darby, who's one of the faces of the company, had great experiences working with Cross, and that the idea of bringing him in would be interesting. He's a nice guy and all, but I haven't spoken to him. Basically, Tony Khan is not bringing in Killer Cross, and the reason why he's not bringing in Killer Cross, because Killer Cross and Scarlett have mentioned many times that they want to make WWE their final destination and home, their only home, before they call this pro wrestling gig finished. They want to make that their last destination. Now, if they do end up in AEW, they also did say fairly that if we do sign with AEW, AEW will be our final destination, and that will be our home until we retire. But he basically said he's not bringing a Killer Cross. They don't use that guy. They don't use that type of guy good anyway. Like, what would he do with Killer Cross? They got so many other problems that Killer Cross coming to AEW would be a complete non-factor. He wouldn't make a difference at all. And he knows that. Killer Cross is free and able to do what he wants and be creative. And he's making more money now than he was in WWE. So why do you need them? You don't need them. Keep doing what you're doing at your own leisure. He mentioned Adam Cole. He wouldn't say that Cole will never wrestle again, but he said he currently can't travel, that any future matches would have to be the right situation. It genuinely did sound like Tony got emotional here. And the whole situation with Adam Cole is still a very soft spot. And, Khan is friendly. He's buddy-buddy with a lot of the talents. And I'm sure he's developed quite the relationship with Adam Cole. And he's acting like any friend would in this situation. So Adam Cole's one of the nicest guys that I've personally met. He is one of the more genuine guys in the entire industry. And I wish him nothing but the best. And I want Adam Cole to get back to that place where he was being talked about as the next Shawn Michaels. Honestly, I think pro wrestling is better with Adam Cole in it. Andrade. We basically got confirmation of Andrade's WWE non-compete without Tony Khan directly confirming it. The one-year situation, as you guys know, it's been heavily reported everywhere. Ariel probed to see if TK thought Andrade misled him about his contract status prior to his brief AEW return to attack Kenny Omega and join the Don Callis family. But Tony would only say he loved working with Andrade in the past and would work with him again in the future. There's not really much that Tony could say here for a couple reasons. One, it's probably being worked out, hopefully, in Andrade's favor to get out of that so he can go and do what he needs to do, whether that is stay with WWE, work independently, or go to AEW. So he can't really talk about something that is probably in the hands of the court, hopefully, to rectify Andrade's situation. But he also didn't want to talk about it because not only did it make Andrade look foolish, it made AEW and their legal team and Tony Khan look foolish without doing their due diligence. Nobody did any back work to make sure that everything was all right before they brought him in. They just brought him in to attack their biggest guy and join the Don Callis family. And then we didn't hear about him. His name was not uttered. He wasn't on TV. He wasn't mentioned. Plans were ruined for the pay-per-view at Wrestle Dream. He didn't want to mention it because it makes him look terrible. They're inept. That's why he didn't mention it. Miro, Rusev, another indirect confirmation that Tony and Rusev didn't agree on how he should be booked, which TK chalked up to different visions of things. And he said he was clearly excited to go back to WWE, and he did go back, and I wish him the best. I don't know what the situation is there. Miro has lost more now, or Rusev has lost more now in WWE than he has in his entire run in AEW. But the beginning run of Miro in AEW wasn't great. We eventually got the Redeemer, which was fucking great, but I don't know what happened there. I know he got hurt, and then when he got cleared, he was never brought back to television. All we heard about was creative differences. Bro, work with the guy. He clearly was over with the audience, and people wanted to see him. And I honestly think the character work on AEW was better than what we're getting now in WWE, though it's kind of similar, but it's not the same. They did nothing to work it out. It's the problem. You left him on ice because he figured out he just wants to go back to WWE. And when Tony kind of convinced himself of that, he didn't want to use him anymore. That's how he operates. Oh, you want to go back there? I'm not going to use you. It's basically what it boils down to. Creative differences were there? Sure. But it comes down to it. He figured and realized this guy wants to go back to work with Paul Levesque, my enemy, my competition. I'm not going to use him. So he kept him on ice. That's what he's not mentioning there. Britt Baker. He loves Britt Baker, in and out of the ring, has had great talks recently with Britt Baker, and is just waiting for the right creative idea or spot to bring her back. Gee, Tony, I don't know. You got a fucking... what do you got? 16 women in a tag team title tournament. Yeah, 12 women in Blood and Guts. When is the right moment to bring Britt Baker back? Like, I don't know of any other opportunity to bring her back outside those two opportunities. The women's division is getting more opportunity now than they ever have in AEW 6 years. You would think right now is the right time to bring Britt Baker back. Tony Khan acts like we don't know who books the fucking show. If Tony wanted Britt Baker back on the television show, Britt Baker would be back on Dynamite. They ran through Pittsburgh. Did we see Britt Baker there? The answer is no. He doesn't want Britt Baker back on television because Britt Baker doesn't want to be there. Britt Baker doesn't want to be back on AEW television. She's fucking done with the company. She's riding out her contract, and Tony will willingly pay her to sit home so that she's out of sight, out of mind before she eventually goes to NXT. Any questions? We know who books the show, Tony. If you wanted her back, she'd be on television already. She would have returned in Pittsburgh. Yet we got Lee fucking Moriarty. She's done with AEW. So is Chris Jericho. I love Chris, both personally and professionally. I recently reached out to him to wish him a happy birthday. I'm very excited about everything he's done in AEW and continues to be part of us. Is he going to be back? I can't speak on that right now, but I love having Chris in AEW, and the door is always open for him to return. Chris Jericho is not returning. I don't understand why you just can't willingly say, Chris's contract is up. I'm hoping to sit down and talk to him. If not, we'll wish him his best. You could sit there and fucking make all the excuses you want. Oh, Chris is family. Oh, Chris is great. Chris is this. Chris is that. He's an integral part of the history of AEW. We'd love to have him back. The door is always open for him to come back. Why can't you answer the question like a human being? What do you think, we're stupid? He's online more than all the sickos combined. He knows exactly what's going on. He knows exactly what Chris Jericho's feeling. I'm sure there's been discussions about Chris Jericho. Let's tie all the pieces together. Jericho put down AEW's production in light of TNA's production at Bound for Glory. He said that TNA looked like the second biggest promotion in all of pro wrestling. Don't you think that's Chris Jericho's way of saying, I'm out? All Tony Khan basically did was admit without admitting it, Chris Jericho will be in the Royal Rumble in January. And that's exactly what is going to happen. Jericho is as good as finished with AEW. I just wish that people like Tony and people in this position would be a little bit more open with what's going on. His contract is up at the end of the year. That's all you had to say. That's it. Oh, we'd love to have him back. He's a great part. I love Chris. I wish him happy birthday. That didn't answer the fucking question. He's a bullshit artist. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. He's petty. Yet he had a great interview. He took classes. He conducted himself well and professionally. I'm so proud of Tony Khan. How could you root against Tony Khan? Tony Khan is not the type of guy you think Tony Khan is. This is a facade. This is Tony on his best behavior. And even still, Ariel Helwani had to hold his hand like a little baby. Are you having fun, Tony? I hope you're having fun. I'm so happy to have you here, man. The bullshit, and the bullshit. Ariel wants AEW talent on his show for content. Ariel brought Tony Khan on his show, and he can't stop talking about it because it's content, algorithm. And then Tony gets a platform on Ariel Helwani's show to look like he's done a great job at conducting interviews. Meanwhile, it's the same Tony Khan that we got for the last 6 years. Nothing but lies, manipulation, and bullshit, with him answering some questions, answering some bullshit to some other questions, and never really giving you a clear sense of where he's going with anything he's talking about. He gives you the runaround and gives you a 10-minute long-winded answer when all we needed was 90 seconds. The guy doesn't know how to conduct himself. He doesn't know how to handle himself in these situations, and he gets exposed with the things that he said because we're not stupid. We're not. Was it a better interview than the last one? Yes, but that's a severely low bar. And Triple H is the same way. He doesn't do these things good either. He's another bullshit artist. But my God, man, the amount of garbage and glazing we seen yesterday. Bro, get the AEW dick out of your mouth. You're not getting hired by the company. The one thing that AEW did that is the biggest detriment to their company is bring in someone like Will Washington, who is a content creator, a poor one at that, a content creator, because now everybody looks at that hiring and how close he works with Tony Khan, thinking that if they do the same thing and speak so brilliantly of Tony Khan and so highly of Tony Khan, that they may have an opportunity to get hired. They're not bringing you in. They're not bringing you in. Half these people do fucking not even hundreds of views for their fucking rinky-dink fucking nobody listens to me podcast. Meanwhile, people like us over here, we do numbers. We got the #1 stream in the community on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night, and every other fucking PLE/pay-per-view that there is. And yet we get looked down upon because we don't speak highly of AEW when they absolutely deserve all the criticism that comes their way. And we don't glaze AEW for the sake of a job or wanting to get in their good graces. Give me a break. This interview was one of the most insufferable interviews that I've seen, and the community and the IWC was just as insufferable because you don't know who to trust. The amount of people you can trust nowadays is dwindling week by week. Hopefully you guys find some solace and some trust in me, because I would never, as long as I'm doing this, steer you in the wrong direction at all. Let me know what you guys think about this. Sound off in the comments below. And I couldn't wait to get this out. We did talk about this a little bit on TNT last night, but there's nothing like a solid solo JD talking about Tony Khan and AEW and the bullshit that we usually get that comes off these interviews with TK. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. And please, make sure you guys tune in to us tonight. Jesse and I will be live after AEW Dynamite right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.